I found my mother selling my childhood home behind my back, while I was paying her mortgage. What I discovered next destroyed everything I thought I knew about family loyalty. If you're new here, please hit that subscribe button, and let me know in the comments if you've ever dealt with family betrayal like this. Your support means everything. 3 months ago, I thought I was the good daughter. You know that feeling when you're proud of yourself for doing the right thing? That warm glow when people tell you how lucky your mom is to have you? Yeah, I lived in that space for 2 years. 2 whole years of thinking I was some kind of saint for covering mom's mortgage after dad passed. The house on Maple Street wasn't just a house. It was the house where dad taught me to ride a bike in the driveway with the crack that looked like lightning. Where mom made pancakes every Sunday morning, always burning the first one because she never learned to wait for the pan to heat up properly. Where I brought my first boyfriend to meet them, sweating through my favorite blue dress. After dad's funeral, mom couldn't handle the payments. Social Security barely covered groceries, let alone a $1,500 mortgage. So I stepped up. Of course I did. That's what daughters do, right? $800 a month, every month, transferred from my checking account to hers. I never asked questions. Never wanted to make her feel small about needing help. I was proud of myself, honestly. My friends would complain about their difficult parents, and I'd think, well, at least I'm not one of those people who abandons family when things get tough. At least I'm doing the right thing. God, I was so naive. It started with a phone call I wasn't supposed to overhear. I'd stopped by on a Tuesday afternoon with groceries, my usual routine. Mom was in the kitchen, back turned to me, phone pressed against her ear. Her voice had that hushed, secretive quality that makes you freeze and listen without meaning to. Yes, the closing is set for Friday, she was saying. No, she doesn't know yet. I'll tell her after. The grocery bag slipped from my hands. Apples rolled across the linoleum floor. One coming to rest against the cabinet where we used to measure my height with pencil marks. Mom spun around, phone still at her ear, and her face. I'd never seen that expression before. Caught. Guilty. Almost angry that I'd heard. I'll call you back, she said into the phone, hanging up without saying goodbye. Mom. My voice sounded small, like I was 8 years old again asking why the neighbor's dog had to go to sleep forever. What closing? She straightened her shoulders, and suddenly she wasn't my mom anymore. She was a stranger wearing my mother's cardigan. Sit down, sweetheart. We need to talk. Have you ever had one of those moments where time splits in two? Where there's the before version of your life and the after version, and you're standing right at the crack between them. That's where I was, in Mom's kitchen. Apples scattered around my feet like fallen dominions. I'm selling the house, she said, just like that. Matter of fact. Like she was telling me she'd switched to a new brand of coffee. The words didn't compute at first. They bounced around in my head like coins in a dryer. You're what? But Mom, I've been paying the mortgage. Why would you need to? That's just it, honey. She sat down across from me at the table where we'd played countless games of Uno, where she'd helped me with algebra homework, where Dad used to read the newspaper every morning. I don't need you to anymore. Something cold settled in my stomach. What do you mean? The house has been paid off for 6 months. 6 months. I felt like I was falling, but I was sitting perfectly still. What? I paid it off with the life insurance money. Your father's policy finally came through, and I took care of it. My mind was racing, trying to do math that didn't add up. But I've been sending you money for 6 months after that. $800 a month for 6 months. I couldn't even finish the calculation. The number was too big, too ugly. I know, sweetheart, and I'm grateful, I really am. Grateful. The word came out louder than I intended. You've been taking money from me when you didn't need it? For 6 months. It's not like that. But her voice had that defensive edge that meant it was exactly like that. I was going to tell you. The extra money was helping me save up for a smaller place. You know how expensive it is to move at my age. I stared at her, this woman who raised me, who taught me to tell the truth even when it hurt, who grounded me for a week when I was 14 for lying about where I'd been on a Friday night. So you lied to me. For 6 months you lied to me. I didn't lie, I just postponed the truth. That phrase hit me like a slap. Postponed the truth. Like honesty was a bill you could push to next month. Where's the money, Mom? The money I've been sending you. She looked away, out the window toward the yard where Dad's tomato plants still grew wild and untended. I've been saving it. For my future. For security. Security. I repeated the word, tasting how bitter it was. You've been stealing from me for your security. Don't be dramatic, Jessica. I'm not some criminal. I'm your mother. And there it was. The card she always played when she was backed into a corner. The mother card. As if giving birth to me 32 years ago gave her unlimited rights to my bank account forever. You're selling the house, I said slowly, trying to understand. The house I've been paying for. The house you told me you couldn't afford to keep. The market's really good right now. And frankly, this place is too big for me. I found a lovely condo downtown, much more manageable. The way she said it, so casual, so reasonable. Like this was a normal conversation about normal things. Like she hadn't been living a lie for half a year. When? I asked. When what? When did you decide to do this? To sell? To stop needing my help? When did you decide to let me keep paying for something that was already paid for? She was quiet for a long moment. Outside, I could hear the neighbor's dog barking. The same sound that had been the soundtrack to 1,000 afternoons in this kitchen. The insurance money came through in March, she said finally. March. It was September. I'd been sending her $4,800 for something that didn't exist. $4,800 I could have used for, God, anything. My own savings. My own future. The vacation I'd been putting off for 3 years because I couldn't afford it after helping Mom. The realtor says I should get about $300,000 for this place, Mom continued, like we were having a pleasant chat about real estate. After I pay off the condo, I'll have enough to live comfortably for the rest of my life. $300,000. Plus the $4,800 she'd taken from me. Plus who knows what else from Dad's insurance. You're rich, I said, and it wasn't a question. I'm comfortable, she corrected. There's a difference. You're rich, and you've been taking money from me every month like you're some kind of charity case. Jessica, please don't make this uglier than it needs to be. Uglier than it needs to be. As if I was the one making it ugly. I stood up from the table, my legs unsteady. The kitchen looked different now, like I was seeing it through someone else's eyes. The cheerful yellow walls that used to feel warm now seemed garish. The family photos on the refrigerator looked like evidence of a life that maybe never existed the way I remembered it. I need to go, I said. Honey, please, let's talk about this like adults. Adults. Right. Adults who lie to their children for 6 months. Adults who steal money and call it postponed truth. I grabbed my purse, leaving the scattered apples on the floor. Let her clean up her own mess for once. Jessica, wait. I turned back at the door. She was standing now too, reaching toward me like she could pull me back into the conversation. Back into the lie we'd been living. I was going to tell you, she said. After the closing. I was going to give you some of the money from the sale. To thank you for all your help. Some of the money. After taking it from me for months. After lying to me. After making me feel like the good daughter. While treating me like a fool. How much? I asked. I'm sorry. How much were you going to give me? From my own money that you took? She didn't answer. Couldn't answer. Because we both knew whatever she'd planned to give me would have been a fraction of what she'd taken. A tip. A consolation prize for being stupid enough to trust my own mother. I left without saying goodbye. The drive home was a blur of stop signs and traffic lights that I barely saw. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel, and I couldn't tell if it was from anger or heartbreak or both. At home, I sat at my kitchen table. My own table, in my own apartment that I'd never be able to afford to buy, because I'd been sending $800 a month to someone who didn't need it, and I did the math. $4,800. That was just the money I'd sent after she'd already paid off the house. Before that, I'd been helping for over a year. Another $9,600. Nearly $15,000 total. $15,000 I'd given freely, gladly, because I thought my mother needed help. Because I thought I was being a good daughter. $15,000 that could have been my emergency fund. My vacation fund. My maybe someday I'll buy a house fund. I called my sister Sarah in Portland. Sarah, who'd always been the difficult one, the one who never helped with mom, the one who'd moved across the country right after college and only called on birthdays. She did what? Sarah's voice was sharp with disbelief. I told her everything, and with each detail, I could hear Sarah getting angrier. That manipulative. Sarah caught herself, took a breath. Jess, I'm so sorry. But I can't say I'm surprised. What do you mean? She pulled something similar with me when I was in college. Remember when she said she needed help with Dad's medical bills? When he had that heart episode? I remembered. Sarah had refused to help, said she couldn't afford it, and I'd thought she was being selfish. Mom had made such a big deal about how stressed she was about money, how worried about Dad's health. The bills were already covered by insurance, Sarah continued. I found out later. She just wanted extra money for, I don't know what. But she never needed my help. Why didn't you tell me? Would you have believed me? You always thought I was the selfish one. You were so proud of being the good daughter. She was right. I wouldn't have believed her. I would have thought she was making excuses for not helping. She's done this before, I said, and it wasn't a question. Mom has this way of making herself seem helpless when she wants something. And she's really good at making you feel guilty if you don't give it to her. I thought about all the times Mom had mentioned money worries, always in that careful, indirect way. Never asking directly, just mentioning. Sighing. Worrying out loud about bills and expenses until I offered to help. What are you going to do? Sarah asked. I didn't know. What do you do when you discover that the person who taught you about honesty and integrity has been lying to you for months? What do you do when the good deed you've been proud of turns out to be a scam? That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Dad, about how disappointed he'd be if he knew what Mom was doing. Dad, who worked 2 jobs to pay for that house, who was so proud when they finally owned it outright, who made Mom promise to keep it in the family. By morning, I'd made a decision. I called Mom at 8 a.m., knowing she'd be up having her coffee and reading the newspaper that she didn't really need me to help her afford. Jessica, honey, I'm so glad you called. I was hoping we could. I want my money back, I said. Silence. I want every penny you took from me after March. $4,800. I want it back. Sweetheart, I don't think that's. It's not a request, Mom. It's not a negotiation. You took my money under false pretenses. That's not postponing the truth, that's fraud. Don't you dare threaten your own mother. I'm not threatening. I'm telling you what's going to happen. You're going to transfer $4,800 back to my account by the end of the week, or I'm going to make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of person you really are. You wouldn't. But something in my voice must have told her I would, because after another long pause she said, Fine. I'll transfer the money. Good. But I want you to know how disappointed I am in you, Jessica. Family is supposed to forgive each other. Family is supposed to forgive each other. Not family is supposed to be honest with each other. Not family is supposed to protect each other. Family is supposed to forgive, which meant I was supposed to forgive her for lying and stealing, but she wasn't supposed to ask forgiveness for doing it in the first place. You're right, I said. Family should forgive each other. Maybe you should start by asking for it. I hung up before she could respond. The money appeared in my account 3 days later. All of it, exactly $4,800. No note, no apology, just a transfer that showed up on my banking app like any other transaction. Mom sold the house 2 weeks after that. I found out from the neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, who saw the moving truck and called to ask if everything was okay. Your mother didn't mention she was moving, Mrs. Patterson said, concern evident in her voice. It all happened so fast. Fast. Yes, I bet it did. Can't risk the daughter asking too many questions about the timeline. I never got an invitation to see the new condo. Never got a call asking if I wanted anything from the house before the movers came. Never got an apology. What I got was a Christmas card 3 months later with a photo of Mom in her new living room, beaming at the camera like she didn't have a care in the world. Inside she'd written, Hope you're doing well, sweetheart. Love, Mom. Like nothing had happened. Like we'd just had a small disagreement about dinner plans. I keep that card on my refrigerator now, Not because I treasure it, but because I need the reminder. I need to remember that people can love you and lie to you at the same time. That being family doesn't automatically make someone trustworthy. That being the good daughter doesn't protect you from being taken advantage of. The hardest part isn't the money, though getting it back helped. The hardest part is grieving the mother I thought I had. The one who needed my help and was grateful for it. The one who raised me to be honest and generous and kind. That mother never existed. Or maybe she did once, but somewhere along the way she decided that my kindness was something she could exploit rather than cherish. I still send her birthday cards. I still call on holidays. But I never ask if she needs help, and I never offer it. Because I learned that there's a difference between being generous and being a fool. And I spent too many years not knowing which one I was. Sarah was right about one thing. I was proud of being the good daughter. But being good doesn't mean being gullible. It doesn't mean accepting lies because they come wrapped in family loyalty. Sometimes being good means protecting yourself from people who would take advantage of your goodness. Even if one of those people happens to be your mother. The house on Maple Street has new owners now. I drive by sometimes, and they've painted it blue instead of white. The crack in the driveway has been repaired. The tomato plants are gone. It looks like a completely different house, which I guess is fitting. Because the family that used to live there was completely different than I thought it was. I'm okay with that now. Mostly. Some days are harder than others, but I'm learning that you can love someone and not trust them. You can grieve a relationship that's still technically alive. You can be the good daughter without being the naive one. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do is stop enabling someone's worst impulses, even when that someone is your own mother. If you've been through something similar with your own family, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Sometimes it helps to know you're not alone in these impossible situations. And don't forget to subscribe. Your support really does mean everything.